What's going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. I'm joined by T here to discuss all the latest that is going on with Palace. And trust me, I don't know what is in the air in South London, but there is a lot that is going on. As always, we'll be covering all the latest news, including yesterday's one towards the end of the show. One or two significant stories from yesterday as well that we couldn't jump on live stream. So you'll be up to date. You'll be up to date with everything related to Palace. As always, fantastic job from T and AJ in the last stream. We hit over 200 likes. Can we do the same? The community is growing. Make sure to leave down your thoughts in the comment section down below if you're watching a replay. Like, subscribe. Help the algorithm. Let's reach the 5,000 subscribers. That'll be a big trademark for Crystal Palace fan channel. And as always, let us know your questions that we will answer towards the end of the show by putting a Q and a dot before the question, which will pin and answer it. T, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Wrapping up the weekend with some Palace news, man. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, well, look, the wardrobe is back, and you seem like you're in your basement as well.
We back at home. We back at home, baby.
exactly. Back at home, back to reality. And funny enough, there was a game at Palace today. It was a charity game, AMP versus Brentford, and there was a pitch invasion. Never know. Next year, May. Might be a Palace
a pitch invasion. That's two of them actually. I think it was like two guys that ended up running out there. Good.
Yeah. Well, the whole game got cancelled towards the end, but it was a charity match anyways.
Really?
But yeah, there was a game. Yeah, there was a game at Palace. But look, today's agenda, just quickly before we get started, there is a lot. It's not just Jordan Ayew, as you can see. Of course, we'll talk about Jordan Ayew, the latest news with him. John Textor update, we'll be covering that. We've got Kamada update as things have been spicing up over on that side. Eze being rumored away from the club, which is expected. We'll be discussing that and more incomings as well, and potential replacements for Eze and Elisa. So there's a bunch of everything: incomings, outgoings, serious news, bit more speculation type news. We got it all. We got it all today. And you know what? Let's start off with B is home now. Glasner's gone. Sorry, that comment caught me off guard from Evan. It's still be fine. Everyone's going to end up leaving the club and everything's going to go to shit because I'm back. Let's start off with Jordan Ayew. Bit of a surprise news, maybe, but it's coming from Alan Nixon. It's that Crystal Palace are ready to cash in on Jordan Ayew this summer. Ayew has been an Eagles regular, of course, and since joining on a free, but may move out as Oliver Glasner shakes up his squad. There was a mention of Jeffrey Schlupp there as well. Are you surprised considering that we have been, renewing these players' contracts, such as Ayew and Jeffrey Schlupp, that he is rumored to be potentially leaving the club this summer?
I'm not surprised because the thing is, had we not done what we did as far as renewing them, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do what we're thinking about doing now, and that's selling them on and getting something back for them. You know what I mean? If we just let them walk, we didn't renew them, they go somewhere else, and we get nothing in return. But at least now, in the situation we're in, yes, granted they're on one-year deals, but we still have a chance to get something for them rather than letting them leave for free. The reason why I wouldn't say I'm not surprised is simply because of the fact that now that it sounds like the Kamada news is coming to light, it puts another player in that group of attacking guys. So somebody probably needs to be moved out. And if it's Ayew, it's a possibility that it's Ayew, it's a possibility that it's Schlupp. We don't know. It could even be França being loaned out somewhere, depending on, how they view him and what they see from his development. So it doesn't surprise me that somebody is going to be moving on. Not to mention the fact that Ayew is probably worth more than what we bought him for, even right now at 31, 32 years old. Like, we got him for $2.5 million. And right now, I feel like we can get more for him even still than what we paid for him in the past.
Yeah. And of course, the report says that it was for free. It wasn't for free. It is around.
No, we got it for 2.5.
Yeah. £2 million, which, if we do sell him on, we will 100% get profit from him. But how much do we value Ayew then? Because I think, around at least the 10 million mark. I'm just a bit concerned about his age. But
exactly, I think that's probably the biggest thing there. He's because he's premier level. I think he still can play at a high level. It's just that he's older, So I don't know. I mean, for me
But he's still
personally,
playing well though. He's still playing well. So if you're Premier League
he
that's
is.
just
He
getting
definitely
promoted
is.
and you want Premier League experience, I think 5 to 10 million at least.
Yeah.
You do that because it's not as significant as the other players that they'll go after. And I think all parties win because look, I've said it for years on years. As good as it's been, keeping Ayew at the club and keeping Schlupp at the club and all these players at the club, I felt like it was the cheaper option for the majority of the time. It was the easier option. It was a cheap option. And if we do want to be the ambitious football club trying to reach the heights of European football, you don't do it with those players. You just don't. You just don't. I don't think Ayew plays for a European club or Jeffrey Schlupp plays for a European club. So it is good that we renew these players if we are going to sell them on for profit, which hopefully that is the case. But we just have to make sacrifices. We have to make sacrifices if we want to improve our squad. We can't always be the nice guy in this situation. As much as they've given to us, we've also given a lot to Ayew and the likes as well. And if we're, I saw a comment there about Kamada potentially coming in and Ayew going. That's an improvement. That is an improvement.
If you think about it, D, if we were like on the low end of that scale we just talked about, if we were to sell Ayew tomorrow for £5 million, that literally not only is it good business because it's double what we paid for him. That $5 million pays for Kamada's entire wages for the life of his contract with us.
Yeah, and
so now he's a free transfer, and we've already got his wages paid for by one move.
Yeah, and we make a profit. We'll make a profit. Ayew's only doing for about £2 million. So if this is the case, which it does make sense to me to believe it, especially if there are incomings, especially around that position. Because we were talking about Raksaki, what happens with him and what happens with Ayew. Because slowly, if these incomings are true, Bellingham, if he was to join as well, what would happen with all these players? And I think just naturally, at some point, we will have to, move on from Ayew. Maybe this is the best time because I think Ayew's stock is still high. It's in terms of his level, I don't think he's finished. I think he's a still good Premier League footballer for a club that's trying to stay up, and he has that experience. But for us who do want to push on, and we do now, seems like from our transfer business, we just have to make these moves. We have to make these moves. And it's not only Ayew, Riedewald, another player that's really liked by the players at the club, liked by the club as well for his impact that he's had on the youth team. But he hasn't had that impact on the first team. So we just had to move on. We just have to make these decisions now and slowly improve the depth of the squad. And we'll see who's actually interested in Jordan Ayew. We'll see. But if you're watching this on replay, let me know. How much do you think Jordan Ayew is worth to Crystal Palace right now? For me, I think we can nick, £10 million out of him from a, maybe newly promoted side or even another Premier League club that just wants experience. And I think, he's still a Premier League footballer. I do think he's still a Premier League footballer. But for us, for what we want to achieve, maybe now is the best time to move on from him. The wardrobe is back. What's going on, people? Exactly, the wardrobe is back. Yeah, things, normal stuff resume as well. Ayew's contract expires June 30th, 2025. So it might be a case of trying to get something out of him before his deal runs out. Only him, Mark Gay has been rumored as well. But yeah, Tim saying I think there's no chance at 10 mil, but maybe 5 mil. Even
you
5
might get 10 mil if he goes to like Saudi Arabia.
But you have to remember exactly. But I don't know if Saudi Arabia would want him. But even 5 mil, like that's good money. And on top of that, you can get rid of his wages. That's the biggest thing out of it. It's not just that.
We double our investment on him with $5 million. Like I said, we pay for Kamada's wages with that $5 million. And like you said, we get his wages off the book then in return.
That's the biggest thing. We get his wages off the book, and on top of that, we get money as well. And so of course that will naturally, if Kamada was to join, which we'll be talking about Kamada, there is another update. Things are looking promising. If it was to join, then of course, build that money goes towards Kamada. So yeah, I think it makes sense. But we'll move on from Jordan Ayew. Let's see what happens with him. Let's see if there is any interest or if there is any rumors about him potentially joining another club. And not only him, maybe Jeffrey Schlupp as well. He's another player with Premier League experience. What happens with Jeffrey Schlupp? But let us know. Let us know in the comment section down below if you're watching on replay. If you're enjoying this, people, like and subscribe. 200 likes. Let's try hit it. Let's try help the community grow. It's been growing fantastically. So Thank you so much to every single one of you that's been doing that. And also send in your questions. There's one question so far that I've pinned. Put a Q and a dot before the question, and we'll answer them towards the end of the show. But we've got a lot. We've got a lot in the show. So let's move on to the second bit of Palace news, and that is on John Textor. Of course, we've discussed him earlier on this week about him wanting a move away from Palace and interested in buying Everton. There's an update on that from Nixon again. And he said that John Textor is in talks with the Premier League to get their blessing to have major share in Everton and Crystal Palace. Textor wants to dispose of a large but minority stake in Palace. He is willing to take a hit in the deal to speed up the process. Textor wants Palace and Everton. Now, for me, no, I don't want that. I don't. And I don't think the Premier League will allow it. But for you, would you be happy with something like that?
No, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be happy with it. When I was reading the article that came out with it, it said that what he would end up doing is making a contractual agreement that he could have no dealings in any of the business of Palace at all. So yes, he would own the shares until he can get while he's trying to get them sold, but he would absolutely have no control over it, and he would have no dealings in the daily business of Palace, which even still I wouldn't want to see, because I think it sets a bad precedent for the league, especially with some of the power players that are involved already. But I think he's just trying to be ambitious, and he's really trying to get Everton while they're at their lowest. You know what I mean? Like, he's in a situation where he's in a buy low with them, and he's trying to make sure that he can try and get that deal done while they're in this low spot. But you know, I think personally, I don't like the look of it more than anything else. So
do you think this is a case of just Textor trying to speed up the Everton process more than him actually wanting to keep his shares at Palace? Because it seems like that is going to be a bit more complicated than he thought to sell them. It's not going to be as straightforward. And, you know, Everton right now, there's that opportunity. If he really wants Everton, he has to do it right now. But then there's a conflict of interest. You can't own two Premier League football clubs.
Right. And I think naturally the setup that he owns with us is complicated. You know what I mean? So easy to see that it's going to be a complicated thing to sell what he has, because anybody that wants to come in has to deal with either taking on a very complicated situation just by buying straight in, or negotiating, once again, what we talked about before, trying to negotiate something different that works for both the person that's coming in and buying and the people that are already here in Harris, Blitzer, and Steve Parrish. So, it's going to be a lot of yellow tape in that process. So that's why he's probably just trying to find some way to have his cake and eat it too, as they say over here.
I think when you look at, if you're an investor, if you're looking at the situation, I think this is a good opportunity to try and approach Textor. He seems kind of desperate to sell shares. Maybe there might be, you know, a deal there to happen. Maybe Textor might be willing to sell them for a bit cheaper than in a normal scenario, because, you know, I don't think the Premier League are going to improve this. There's no reason for the Premier League to improve it. Why? What does the Premier League owe to John Textor? I mean, that's conflict of interest.
Right.
Regardless of what you sign, only two football clubs in the Premier League, it's not going to work. So I don't think the Premier League will approve it. And if the Premier League doesn't approve it, the other option Textor has is, as the report suggested, to kind of take a hit. Maybe sell it for less than it's valued. And that might be the case. And if you're an investor, if you're looking at the situation right now, hopefully sooner rather than later, we actually see some of the names. We actually see some of the names being mentioned and interested, because I think this is going to speed up. The process is going to speed up, maybe quicker than expected. And that is due to John Textor than what we normally expect in this types of situations, which, you know, I never thought someone would be this desperate to buy Everton in the state that they're in, but that's up to him. If he wants to buy it, he wants to buy it. Let's see what this happens on the Palace side of things. So yeah, I mean, that's on him. That's on him. And you know what? Let's move on. Let's not talk about John Textor any longer, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that situation, because he's desperate to get into Everton. Yeah. Let's talk about potential incoming, and that is on Kamada, Daichi Kamada. Which, I mean, last week, before I actually flew out on Friday, it seems like before then maybe the deal was kind of done, not done in terms of like done for us, like we didn't have a chance. And now all of a sudden it seems like Kamada is on his way to Palace. So there's another update from Fabrizio Romano, is that Crystal Palace are closing in on the Kamada deal, people. So it seems like we are getting there. It's still not done, but the Lazio president has said the following. He said that Daichi Kamada asked for an extra 2.5 million euros as a signing fee to extend his contract. Nobody can blackmail us. That is significant, which we'll talk about. We will send away all the mercenaries. That is what the Lazio president has said. And Fabrizio Romano has added to that, saying that Crystal Palace are closing in on the Kamada deal, as revealed 2 days ago. If you're the president of another football club and you make comments like that about the player that you want to sign, that is, for me, from the outside looking in, that is over. He's trying Kamada's trying to blackmail him, which is not the case. I mean, if Palace offer more money, that's not a blackmail situation.
That is dead. That is completely dead. I mean, I read some of the quotes as well. When me and AJ were on, you don't come out and say that type of stuff and then go back and sign a guy. You know what I mean? I think that he was extremely upset at the fact that they struck this agreement with Kamada and his people the first time around, with signing the 1-year deal that would then become a particular 3-year extension. And Kamada and his team came back with revised terms. So he seemed pissed because it's like, okay, now you're holding us for ransom because you've already signed a contract that said, hey, if you're going to do the 3-year extension, here's how it looks. Here's what it's going to be. You know, and it's like, okay, now you want to come back and try to renegotiate that and get yourself a lower buyout clause and hurt your valuation and what we can get for you. So he sounded like he was pretty upset. I don't see that happening. So it makes good sense why now we're back in the picture for things.
It's not that we're back into the picture. I think we are the leaders now in this race. I expect next week to be further updates and, you know, for a deal to be confirmed. I just don't think you go back from that. So, I mean, early last week, it was that Lazio seems like, you know, they were going to have the upper hand and he was going to sign for Lazio after Palace rumors. And now it seems like we are back in. We are there and he's going to join us. And when we're mentioning the Ayew rumors, if you're just joining now about Ayew could be potentially sold this summer based on reports, it makes sense. If Kamada's coming in, Ayew out the other door. You know, it will make sense. So this is the one to look forward to next week. I think it's not the end of it. We're going to hear more, maybe even tomorrow about this Kamada situation, because it seems like the Lazio bridge is burnt. From the outside looking in, it seems like it is burnt. So let's see. It seems like Palace are offering 2.5 million euros extra than what Lazio were offering, based on what the Lazio president was saying. So, you know, let's see what happens. We might have another signing. Chadi Riyad, of course. Thankfully, we're going to announce over the weekend. That's me for my agenda. He's going to be announced next week, but I'll be knackered traveling back, and I couldn't be a reaction video. So I'm thinking about myself. It's the off season. I can think about myself. So hopefully that's announced next week, and there might be another player following him, and that might be Kamada. You know, are you a bit more confident now, T, that this is going to actually happen based on everything that's been going on so far?
I mean, yes, simply because it sounds like, you know, there's not a lot of other players in this game now other than us, and being the main player in the game, along with the connections that we have to Kamada, it almost makes too much sense. Like, the move makes too much sense at this point. You know, why wouldn't this happen? Why wouldn't he do this? Is kind of my thought behind it. You know?
Yeah. Tim saying, I mean, Lazio can only blame themselves. They agreed to a 1-year deal knowing that the extension would be contingent on how we felt about the club and the deal. And they didn't get sorted a bit earlier. So, you know, Palace have seen the opportunity and we're taking it. Kamada didn't get as many minutes as he expected last season. I guess he didn't want to be tied to a contract with a £20 million release clause, which was also in the reports as well, for another season of the same. So, yeah, I understand, you know, where Kamada's coming from.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't completely break down all the minutes, but he made a lot of appearances and played over 1,000 minutes. So I don't know. Like I don't know if that's the case or not, because he played a lot for this, but
Yeah, exactly. And let's see, people. But fingers crossed. I do think, based on how everything is going right now, because sometimes you hear reports about Palace being involved, and it's like the other club or the agent trying to sort out a deal better for themselves. They're saying, "Oh, look, Palace are involved, so let me get this." But when your president comes out and says that, that is not even a case of trying to get Palace involved to get a better deal. That's a case of, damn, things are serious over there, and that deal seems like it is off. And I think that is
it's like,
what's giving me the encouragement.
I kind of get it, because it's like when you sign that deal last summer, the agreement is, hey, if you decide to extend with us, here's what the 3-year extension looks like. You know what I mean? This is the extension. And then for them to say, okay, cool. Now that we're getting to that point, before we sign and do the extension, we want we want a lower buy clause, or we want more money here. And it's like, nah, man, that's not what we agreed upon.
Yeah.
So I can see why they would feel like, I felt like his words were a little harsh though. Like, let's be honest. Some of the stuff he was saying was kind of crazy. But I get from a contractual business standpoint where that might rub somebody the wrong way. But at the same time, business is business, and for a player, you gotta look out for your best interest and try to get the best as you can. I mean, everything's up for negotiation until it's not. So
yeah. And let's move on to the next player. Look, we'll see what happens with Kamada. But for me, on a personal level, I do think it's a bit more likely now, based on everything that's been going on, that next week we do see a further update of things progressing and hopefully a deal being struck. I'm looking forward to that next week. Let's talk about Eze. It's only right, June the 1st, and the rumors have started about Eze leaving, and that is according to transfer.com, that Tottenham are expected to initiate discussions with Crystal Palace's Eze in the next 2 weeks. Eze, funny enough, this is a key part of the story. Eze expects Palace to honor a gentleman's agreement to allow him to leave this summer. I think there's two sides, of course, Tottenham being interested in Eze, and Eze hoping that Palace honor that gentleman's agreement, which I don't know anything about, and make him leave this summer. Then again, I saw a fee today of around £40 million, which Eze is simply not leaving for £40 million. And we know how Tottenham are tight. Tottenham are a very tight club. So it's not like a club that I'm scared about Eze leaving. But for UT, Tottenham, Eze, I mean, them rumors have been there before. This summer, what do you expect?
Well, first of all, with him signing an extension the way that he did, that gentleman's agreement better be pretty impressive, because he just signed a pretty substantial extension with us. So that gentleman's agreement has to be a pretty good number. And secondly, Tottenham's going to have to pay up. Like, they're going to have to be willing to pay the money. I mean, we've seen this story break before with Tottenham having interest, and they didn't want to pay the amount. And that was before.
That's happened with Wilf. I mean, they were interested in Zaha for years. They didn't want to pay his wages. We know that they are very tight.
Yeah, and that was before we extended him, before he got a higher salary and a higher buy clause. So if Tottenham wants him, they have to pay up. And I mean, they've already added a significant amount of attacking talent in the recent past, with guys like Madison and what's the kid's name that came over from Forest? Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson, yeah.
They just added Brennan Johnson. So they've got some recent attacking talent that they've added. You gonna have to pay up. And I think it's as simple as that, man.
Yeah. And the only thing that makes me believe this rumor and not call it complete BS, I'm not saying it's 100% factual, because even the source ain't that great, is that in the past there's been links about Eze to Tottenham. That's it. I mean, apart from that, I'm not worried. I'm not panicking that Eze is going to go to Tottenham. In fact, I'm even more confident after hearing this, because everything kind of indicates that, Tottenham won't be paying the money towards Eze. So let's see. Apparently, in the next few weeks, they will be initiating talks. So if there's anything that comes up across that, then we'll have it covered here, of course. But yeah, that's the latest with Eze to Spurs. Them rumors are still going on. We'll see if he's linked with any other clubs at any point of this window. Now, let's talk about potential Elise or Eze replacements. And that is according to the Mirror, is that Crystal Palace will move for Leeds attacker Somerville if they lose Michael Olise or Eberechi Eze this summer. It's good that we're planning in advance, and I think even before this report, of course we are, because there's always that possibility that we could lose one of the two. But if we were to lose Eze or Olise, would Somerville be the answer for you, T?
I think he would be a legitimate one, for sure. I mean, he's very much along the lines of what we would want from not only looking to pull guys out of the championship and things, but he fits the profile very well of what you need from that attacking midfield position. I think the biggest difference here in comparison to what we've seen with Olise, what we've seen with acquiring players like Eze, is that I think Somerville stands to be he stands to be a lot more expensive than either of those guys was. And if I'm to believe that he's going to go for like 30 million pounds, I don't see us making that move.
But then Leeds, well, if we were to lose Eze or Olise, don't you think we would make that move? Because of course they would go for much more than that 30 million pounds. Don't you think we would go for a 30 million pound player in Somerville? Then again,
honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't, because if we're sticking, even though we would get a substantial amount in the pot for making that type of sale, you still, the part of having this type of recruitment program and process is that you're sticking to it. And by going out and dropping that type of money, you're not sticking to the plan that we've put in place to get us to this point anyway.
But we don't really know the plan, though. Well, we do know the plan that, Saudi's play for higher value and then bringing in, another youngster and try to build them. Is it a case for you saying that 30 million pound would be a bit too much to sell on Somerville from? Is that your point?
Yeah, that's my point. My point is that there is an element of understanding that you put out $30 million on a guy who hasn't seen success at this level before, and then you have the potential for him to not be good enough for this level, and then you sunk 30 million into him. And I think you see that mistake a lot from these bigger clubs. They spend these exorbitant amounts on players that aren't proven because of potential. They don't work out, and then they end up going elsewhere for less. I don't think we can afford to have those type of missteps as much. So I think somebody just commented, I think Eva just commented, but you got guys like Jonathan Rowe, Jaden Philogene, Jack Clark that are out there that will be acquisitions that will be more in line with our policies and the things that we've been doing to get us to this point now. So all I'm saying, I guess the point I'm making is I like Somerville a lot. I don't know if I'm prepared to shell out 30 million for him though.
Yeah, Louis saying I'd rather have a player with the same quality as Eze or Lisa rather than getting up and coming talent. With that, Louis, as you said, might be too expensive, and that is not what we're really trying to do. We'll see anyways, but we haven't actually started. The process started a few years ago, but we haven't sold any of these key players yet. But yeah, I don't think we'll sell Eze or Lisa for 60 million and bring in another player for 60 million. It'll be trying to find someone on a cheaper end and then developing them as well. But of course, we don't want to be. People praise on about that Brighton model. We don't want to be exactly Brighton model because look at them. They seem like they're in a shambles right now. And everything, they're meant to be the best run club in the world, best run scouts, academy, manager. They'll always find a manager. They'll always find a player. I'm hearing Graham Potter. I'm hearing all kinds of managers that's linked with Brighton. And no one as exciting as, they've been in the past. So, and I think the reason why De Zerbi left is because they have too much of a say in terms of who joins the football club. Whereas at Palace, I don't think it's exactly as how Brighton works. They're kind of like a formulated football club. Everything goes by the algorithm. They will sell this player for that much. They will bring in that player. But with Palace, it seems like, we would want to keep some of these players. We're not desperate to sell them. And I think that is why Glasner is happy as it is. So even if we were to sell Olise, and of course, maybe we might not bring in a player for 10 million. Maybe we might go for a 25, 30 million player to help Glasner, depending on the situation. That might happen. And then we might spend the next 10, 15 million pounds on a player with a bit more potential who hasn't uncovered it yet. So we might do a bit of both. A player that's a bit more expensive and a player spend the other half of that money on a player, well, one or two players that might, still prove themselves. So, you can balance the books. It doesn't have to be all 40 to 50 million pound players. You can still get a quality player as well as a potential player with that kind of money that we could get from Eze or Elise leaving. MTB Flat saying the whole buy low, sell high plan will only work for so long. Southampton and Brighton both are on the downside of the curve now because they've sold all their best players, and that is why
you just corrected yourself in the same statement, though.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like the model works if you don't scalp your team in the process. The reason why Southampton and Brighton did it wrong is because you sold everybody at the same time. The purpose of the dynamic is to sell guys incrementally and use those sales to then bring in reinforcements. The issue that Brighton had was they sold everybody in such a tight window that they didn't bring anybody else in and develop them to truly replace those guys. But there are clubs that do this, and Borussia Dortmund is one of them. They literally just got done playing in the Champions League final, and their model has always been to develop younger talent and to sell them on. But at the same time, there's balance to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Clubs like Lyon have been known for it for decades of developing great young talent, selling them on, and then getting other young talent for great prices from other places. So I think it's all about how you do it, though. I think Southampton and Brighton are two examples of how to do it wrong, if anything.
And we're critical at times to the ownership. The one benefit to the ownership is that, especially Parish and Doug, is that they're not willing to sell these. It's not like this summer we want to sell Elise for £60 or £70 million, even though we can back in that profit, or Eze. It seems like we're more, based on what we're hearing, we're more willing for them to stay. So it's not like we operate like those other clubs as well. Look, if we were to sell these players, we'll sell them on for a nice bit of profit. But it's not like Palace are pushing these players out the door. And these players seem like they're happy at Palace so far. So, with the Eze rumor that we spoke about, I'm not as worried about Tottenham. I ain't.
I'm not. Tottenham, they're cheapskates, man. Like I believe the Tottenham links less than I believe the ones about Elise going to Man United or Chelsea. Like that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. Why are people talking about my OnlyFans? I don't have OnlyFans. What's going on? I'm reading the chats. I'm reading like Southampton, and halfway through I'm reading, does D have an OnlyFans channel? I don't know what is going on, but whoever you subscribe to, that ain't me. I do not have no OnlyFans channel. I don't know what's going on, but that's another Palace news. I don't have an OnlyFans channel. I can declare that. But if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button. Let's try and get about 200 likes, people, especially a lot watch on replay as well. I hope you have one. I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. But no, I don't have a channel. I don't have one. Anyways,
there's people that want to see this for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Just give me a like, and this is the only channel I have. I don't have an OnlyFans one.
If you put it like this, don't worry about these OnlyFans. You can drop a super chat in here right now and pay some money. So
exactly. I ain't doing no wild things. So you can drop your super chat, but I ain't doing no wild things. I'll tell you that.
Don't pay to play. Don't pay to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep it to Palace. Just quickly before we talk about the last few rumors, and then we'll be answering questions. The Fez saying, take Zaha. We could have sold him for loads for 5 years, but we both wanted to continue rather than sell him to other teams. Same with Eze Elise. And I think that's a great example. And I say this to neutrals as well. For everyone that says that we want to Eze Elise 100% leaving, no, Palace don't operate like that. We just don't. We're not willing to sell these players. With the Zaha situation, we saw it. Like, we try to keep these players as long as possible because we actually want to push on. Whereas other clubs, they do want to sell the players. So I think that's the biggest difference between Palace and, for example, a Brighton model. And that is why, De Zerbi's left Brighton, and they seem like they're in the mud. And I saw Steve Cooper linked, everything. So yeah, we'll see all of that. All right, let's go on to the next bit of rumor from today, and that is on Alfie Doughty, who's on Brentford and Palace's radar, meaning he could, still an immediate return to the top flight, and that is according to the Mirror. Doughty, you mentioned him before, even before we were linked with him. Like the fee, that's a question mark. Brentford again involved. Brentford are becoming a new West Ham. I don't know what's going on with Brentford and Palace. Brentford are involved with a few other transfers. The fee, that's a question mark. Whether he'd want to join Palace, would he be starting at Palace? That's another question mark. But for you, this rumor now being official from the Mirror, what do you make of it?
I mean, I think I think it should be taken seriously. I mean, I think it has it does make sense because you're going after it's kind of similar to what we do. I mean, but you're going after what would be a championship player, but now has Premier League experience. He's on it. You know, it's always that idea of you're looking to pick players off those teams that are going down because you know that the clubs are going to need money after they've been relegated. So you might be able to get a guy at a good price. You know, I feel like it also makes sense. I think Doughty would be okay with coming in and competing for a spot, just providing competition to a guy like Tariq. So I think it makes sense as long as Luton aren't trying to hold him for ransom on the price.
Exactly. And Dan has a question. What's the fee for Doughty? No clue. No clue. There's just the interest. So, I mean, if Brentford and other clubs are involved, then of course that's going to push the price up a bit. So yeah. Then again, T, do you see him starting at Palace? I mean, he's only 24 years old, which is good. That's what we want, ideally, younger players. But I don't see.
I don't see him starting. Yeah, I don't necessarily see him starting unless he comes in and just really outplays Ty. But I think he comes in and you want, the thing is, for a team to really push on and a team to really try to break into that European model, that European mold, you got to have two-level competition at every single position. And I think that Doughty immediately gives us that by bringing him in. It gives two-level competition at the left wing back spot, which is great for us. You know what I mean? So I think it's a move that makes sense because we could probably get him for a good price as well. So
yeah, and look, Ty needs competition. He does need competition. You know, I guess that could push him. That could push him forward, which I think he's been playing well. So I think that'll be, you know, serious competition. Again, I want depth for quality's sake rather than just for numbers' sake. And I think this move would add to the quality of the team. Then again, and if he pushes, you know, Mitchell, you never know. I think they can both push each other, so there could be a bit of rotation there. And you know, we're going to answer the question towards the end of the show, but this question I think is worth answering now. Tim saying, I like the Doughty rumors, but could you see Glasner giving Teo a look for depth at left wing back? I think if Doughty were to join, which there's nothing that indicates that we're close to signing him, I think that's pretty much Teo done, right? With Mitchell and Doughty there.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, I think I wouldn't necessarily say Teo's done. I mean, it probably would guarantee that he goes on another loan for sure.
I'm talking about for the upcoming season. He won't be in this.
Oh yeah, not for the upcoming season. Yeah, I think for the upcoming season, that seals him going out on loan for sure. Timing matters, you know what I mean? Because you know maybe the Doughty acquisition isn't at the top of the list, so we don't know how far we may get in the preseason with somebody like Teo getting a look in. But you know, if he comes in, I definitely would say that we'll see Teo go out on loan again for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Teo will have a spot if it's Mitchell and Doughty there, anyways. But you know, you mentioned him last week. The club clearly been listening to you, T. So we'll see if we go after him. But yeah, they
also mentioned us having tracking and liking Tendon Mingy too, which is interesting.
Yeah, they have. You know, of course, there's going to be a lot of players that we track.
Right.
So yeah, I think he's been linked with us before as well. So yeah, I mean, let's see. These are more just like how I like to say, just rumors, not for the sake of rumors, but you know, just borderline rumors rather than anything serious so far. But you know, he's been mentioned. Let's see if anything comes of it. As this, you know, window opens. The window's not even open yet. Remember that. Right. Let's see what happens. Let's also now talk about yesterday's news. We couldn't come live yesterday, but of course we make sure everything's up to date. We'll cover everything as it happens. And you know, the biggest one from yesterday / Friday night after T and AJ finished up the stream was that Mateta, according to Fabrizio Romano, Crystal Palace have no plans to sell John Fleet Mateta this summer, despite the recent links. Palace consider Mateta as a crucial player for next season after his excellent performances in 2020-40. No surprises there, but Fab is confirming that as well. Mateta, have you seen him? He's in Brazil. He's trying to come back next season like playing like Pele. He's been in Brazil, and people are saying that that's him trying to stay fit because apparently Glasner said that if players come back unfit, you're gonna have no days off. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back a stone or two lighter than he played at last season.
But there's no surprise there for us not wanting to sell Mateta because he fits into Glasner's system. I mean, we saw it at the end of last year. Sorry, but I got scared of my own hand for a second. I don't know why. I just saw it on the camera. I was like, what is this going on? Sorry, caught me off guard. I don't think we would have sold Mateta anyways, but Fabrizio Romano confirming that is a plus, despite the link. So if Mateta was to leave, it will be for very good money. And I just don't see anyone paying that. But also another rumor that we couldn't cover yesterday was that Spurs are believed to be among a number of Premier League clubs, including Crystal Palace, who are interested in Marcus Edwards. Of course, a player that's playing in Portugal, who's previously, I think, was at Spurs. He
was at Spurs, and then he went to Sporting CP.
Yeah, he's a very good player, player. But I don't really see it happening unless Elise leaves or.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the type of move I don't think happens until we lose one of those guys. So I think it's very in line with like a Somerville conversation. I think the question then becomes, which one of those two can you get at a better price?
Yeah. I think this is more of like a replacement type of situation.
And at this point, Marcus Edwards is a much more proven player than Somerville is at a higher level. I mean, Marcus Edwards has been Sporting CP playing in the first league in Portugal and playing in European competitions as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been highly rated for the last year or so because he's been doing very well in Sporting and as well in Europe. So it's, not a bad player, but there's no way he's coming to the club to, sit on the bench because he's just better than that. So I think this is more of a replacement situation. Just quickly, there's a question here from Bollocks. We'll answer the other questions as well. Don't worry, people. Put a Q and a dot before it. Saying, how long left on JP's contract? What would you sell him for? If we were to sell him, how much do you think JP is worth to Crystal Palace right now under Glasner? And I put under Glasner because I think JP under Glasner is a different breed.
35 to 40.
Yeah, I'll say 40. I'll say 40 mil as well, which I never thought I'd see today. That valued JP at 40 mil. But yeah, I think around £40 million. Let us know in the chat how much you think JP's worth. And his contract, I believe, is meant to expire around 2026. So
we have a 1 year option. We have a 1 year option to extend after next season.
I wonder if we give him a new deal. I wonder because there were rumors about that. Well, talks, not actual rumors between the fan base. Does JP get a new contract? Is it going to be announced? I mean, he kind of deserved it throughout the whole of last season, even before Glasner. He made improvements, but
I think it's smart to have not given it to him just yet. Because in retrospect, with how he's playing at the end of the season, I was in the moment like, give him the extension. You know what I mean? But from a business standpoint, I think it makes sense not to because you want to see him come back next season and duplicate his form or continue his form, should I say, and then show that what he put on paper and what he did on the pitch last year isn't just a one-off. So I feel like if he comes in, so I can see him if he comes in and continues to be consistent and play solid, I can see him getting an extension in like December of this year, like midway through the season, when he's really showing that he's consistent. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't think it makes sense to give him the extension now because you might not see him in Brazil busting his butt to get in shape.
He has to work for that.
We didn't gave him the money. You know what I'm saying? We didn't gave him the money. We didn't fatten his pockets. So maybe he goes to Brazil to just enjoy the scenery rather than busting his butt on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been good. And I just keep it as it is for now. Of course, he might want a bit more money based on last season, but I think Palace will do the right thing for the football club. We're not urgently required to give him a new deal. I don't think there's any release clause or anything like that anyway. So yeah, let's see what happens. But look, let's get on to the questions. If you're just joining us now and want to see all the rumors, after we end the stream, go to the start of the stream. We discussed a lot today. There's a lot today. That's why we're running a bit over time. But as always, we'll answer your questions like we do on every single stream. So let's start off with the first question from JSP saying, do Eze and Elise stay? I think they do.
Yeah,
I think they do as well. United fans and Chelsea fans are confident. They think, who's at least going to pick out one of them two. I don't think he's as straightforward as that. But I do think for now they do stay. And as long as we show ambition in the market, which it seems like we will be doing, I think they do end up staying at the football club. So that's answered. Palace saying, is it right that Nixon knows nothing? Bring on Joe Bellingham, by the way. Nah, Alan Nixon knows some stuff. He doesn't know nothing.
I don't think anybody is 100% right all the time. You know what I'm saying?
He got something. What was it? He got one of the significant news. Can't remember what it was.
He had the Wharton news right. He got the.
Yeah. It was a Wharton. Yeah, he was one of the first people to get it. Yep. So yeah. So I think he's got good connections at the football club rather than the external factors. But yeah, so he does know some things. I do believe that. Is the Joe Bellingham move still on? It's not off from any sources. There's no indication that it's off.
I don't think to say I don't think the Kamada move affects us being interested in Joe Bellingham. I would say that for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't think it will happen as quick as possible. I think right now our focus is on Kamada and Riyadh, which I think Riyadh is done. We just have to announce it. So I think that's something to focus right now. But Joe, I don't think it's off. Is it still on? There's nothing that indicates it's still not.
I mean, he was in London. He was just in London. Maybe some talking went on.
Yeah, exactly. Irv saying, do you think the Palace board have woken up due to the masterclass Glasner? We are operating differently. Maybe it is Glasner. Maybe club are finally seeing the potential and trying to push on. But yeah, there have been changes. Even though we haven't officially signed anyone, you can tell like things are different now on from any other time. So I think to answer your question, yes, the club have woken up 100%. Whether that is to Glasner's masterclass, very likely, but no one knows for certain. But for certain, I do think that the club have changed their approach and are acting a bit more serious, just like the fans wanted. That's why there was a lot of banners. That's why there was a lot of discourse, because it just seemed like we were kind of all over the place. And, finally we're acting, a bit seriously.
Yeah, I think the change was a part of the agreement to get Wharton, to get Glasner even to come here. I think to get Glasner to make the move to come in later on in the season and take over, I think part of that negotiation was him saying, hey, we have to be different in the market. Like, we have to be active in the market. We have to go after players. We have to move early in the window. Like, these are the things that I need from this club in order to come here and be successful as its manager. So,
yeah, and remember when Glasner joined, I did mention it then as well. Sorry, my water just took off. But yeah, I did mention it there as well. With Glasner, look at his history. Like, when things are going right, like, he will speak up. He's not an easy yes man manager to work with. So
he's not that at all.
I think it makes sense because of what's happened in his past. When you combine both the factors together and why we've changed, then yeah, it might be just a case of Glasner coming in. So yeah, I mean, it's good. You want a manager that demands the most out of the club to try to push us forward, and it seems like that is what we're willing to do right now. Let's just see what happens with the ownership situation, and then we move on from there. JSP, another question saying, do we sign a new striker, and if we do, who? I feel like we've answered this question exactly before, and we will probably answer it in further shows. We sign a new striker if Edward leaves, which I think is more likely to see Edward leave, because I don't know if Glasner really rates him as much. And who? I don't know. And that's my stance on it right now. I don't know who that is. That's what I stand. T, anything to add with that?
I'm throwing out the same name, and y'all can write it down. Y'all know who I've said. Thierno Berry is my guy.
Yeah, he was linked recently. It was linked
Yep,
a few days ago.
that's who I would like to see. And it makes a lot of sense for us to go for that move because it still fits our recruiting makeup, except we're getting a young talented player from abroad in comparison to getting a young talented player from the championship, and it won't be super expensive. So I think that's the one.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I think once Edward is sold, I think things will be a bit more significant, and that's if he is sold, which I think he will be. But let's see who's actually interested. Animal saying, "How gone is Gahey? 89%, and who's the most likely replacement?" There's a percentage. That's a very hard question because I've stood on that hill that Gahey will be leaving this summer. And the biggest thing about that is the contract situation. I don't think we want his contract to run into the last year. He's only got 2 years left, and I think it makes most sense to sell Gahey this summer if he's not signing a new deal. So in terms of percentage, despite saying that, right now I'm thinking based on the rumors and it's been a bit quiet, maybe 60, 65%. I think he's gone. For UT, what's the chance of him gone?
I feel like I'm more like 50-50 right now, because even though we haven't agreed the extension, I think it's still a possibility. Like, I don't think we've had any concrete proof as to the fact that, hey, Mark Gahey doesn't want to extend with us. I don't know. I feel like 50-50 is kind of how I sit with it right now, to be honest. And Chris, Chris was asking about who was the name? Thierno Barry. He's at FC Basel in Switzerland.
Tim saying more likely to be sold, Johnston or Edward? What's your take?
Ooh,
that's a good question. That's a good question. I think Johnston. Oh, jeez.
But I feel like these are the closest two players I think out of anyone.
Yeah, but he's like, who's more likely to be sold? There,
Eddie. I'm gonna say Eddie.
I think Johnston. Because of the fact that he wants to be a number one.
And I agree with that too.
I think there'll be interest there. With Eddie, there should be interest. Maybe I don't know if Premier League clubs will be interested, but
I feel like they're equally. I think they're equally likely. I think Eddie will go first because we've already seen it reported.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we haven't heard any Johnson reports, but yeah, I do. I think John. I don't know. I still think Johnson is more likely to go. I think Eddie might be a bit complicated in terms of the fees and stuff. I think someone pays 15 to 20 million pounds for Sam Johnson. I don't think that's significant. I think that's very good money for Sam Johnson.
For a quality goalkeeper, that is a steal.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you're helping my case. That's why I do think Johnson is more likely to be sold because of the price and everything involved. But yeah, let's see. That was a good question. Evan saying, will D get a Mateta tattoo if it costs 20 plus goals? I won't get a Mateta tattoo. I'm not saying that. I'm not getting a Mateta tattoo, but I'll be a very happy man because if he's scoring 20 plus goals, we're 100% achieving something. There's no way 20 plus goals goes for waste. Like, we're either a European club or we're in finals of a cup. Like, so yeah, we'll all be very happy, but I am not getting a tattoo. I'm sorry, I'm not getting a tattoo of Mateta. Older Bear saying, has Dean missed his wardrobe more than a hotel painting? I mean, wardrobe is the same. Haven't really missed it. But yeah, the hotel
paint was kind of nice, man. I can't lie.
I'm so knackered though. I don't know what it is because of course I was working. I was on a holiday for 6 weeks. I'm just so knackered. Like today, I'm just so tired. I can't. The thing is, I turn off my alarm and I still wake up early. It's so annoying. I'm just trying to catch up on sleep. But yeah, I miss wardrobe. I miss my beds and family life. So yeah, hotel painting. You can only live in a hotel so much. Then again, Jose Mourinho is going to be living in a hotel again, but he's in Turkey. It's in Turkey, man. So that'll be interesting as well. We'll see what happens with that. JSP saying, how much money would we get for Edward if we do sell him?
12 to 15 is where I think it stands right about now.
So basically, a return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, close to what we got for.
Yeah, close to what we got him for. Yeah, I don't think we're making a profit on Edward. I don't think so. So yeah, I think if we get back our money or make a little loss, then that'll be fine. I don't think he's a bad player either. I just don't think he suits the system.
And we're making and we stand to make up money in a lot of other areas. Like we just talked about with Johnstone, like we're gonna make up a lot of money there. We stand to possibly make up some money with Ayew, depending on how much we sell him for. So we have other areas where we're still turning profits on players outside of our, big time guys as well.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I do think the club will try to push him to sell him this summer. MTB saying, would you take Adebayo from Luton? Personally, I think he's decent. Yeah, I would as a backup option. I think he was good. But BT?
I think him and probably Barry are probably like the top two for me at this point.
Realistic as well.
Yeah, they're realistic target. They're realistic targets. They're on the younger side. They have really good size, so they can play in this in Glasner's system. I think they could play in his system rather well. So I think they check a lot of the boxes, so to speak.
Yeah, they do. So let's see. I think we haven't been rumored with him just quite yet, but I mean internally we've been speaking about him quite a bit. So yeah, I think once Edward sell is significant, and once Kamada's done as well, I think that's our focus is on Kamada right now.
Yep.
Once that's sorted, I think maybe hear a bit more about strikers, etc. I know that people have been asking about that. But look, people, we went on for nearly half an hour longer than expected. But if you have enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks to every single one of you that's joining us in this live stream. Thanks to every one of you that's also watching on replay as well. We'll be back most likely tomorrow. If there's any latest Palace news, we'll be covering it here as usual. Turn on the notification bell to not miss out on that. Thanks to every single one of you. And until next time, up the Palace.